Thank you, Macarena, and good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Dynamics CRM email configuration. Uh, this is something that usually, when you start using CRM, there is a topic that sometimes makes you have some headaches because there is a lot of things that you have to consider. I'm going to be trying to touch all the points that I consider are important to have a good configuration and avoid any kind of problems. And I'm going to be trying to do like explaining some theoretical things, and after that, just pass directly to the CRM to explain the functionality, I mean, directly in the system. For today, let me see the agenda. The idea is that we are going to be reviewing the emails profiles. What are the types or the kind of profiles that you could configure? How you could configure the mailboxes. That is the next step that you need to do after configure the profiles. I'm going to be explaining the email global settings and the email personal settings because there are specific things that probably you need to know on each of these topics. Additionally, I will be explaining how to configure the Outlook integration. It's something that you could do directly from the CRM. I mean, you could configure the integration directly in the CRM, and that integration is going to affect the Outlook's integration, the local Outlook's integration. So I'm going to be touching these 5 points. And the idea is that as soon as I present the information, I'm going to be presenting that in the CRM as well. Okay, let's start. The emails profile. So as soon as you configure I mean, when you create your CRM instance, or when the administrator create a CRM instance, the first thing that is going to happen is that the CRM is going to try to create a profile by default. Because usually if you are in CRM Online, probably you're going to have Outlook Online as well. So the CRM is going to configure the first profile by default that is going to be Exchange Online. But if in your case you have any different accounts, I mean any different email provider or any different email service like Gmail, or if you have something like an email, a local email server, something like that, you could configure it as well. So let me show you how to do it. Basically, on the CRM side, you need to go to Advanced Settings. And when you open the Advanced Settings, you will find here an email configuration. So if you enter to the email server profiles, you will see the email profile that is created by default. That is going to be Microsoft Exchange Online. On that email profile, you will see the information that is important for users. Like, for example, it's going to be the name. It's going to be the profile type, that in this case is server, I mean, it's Exchange Online. And it's going to provide you some additional information like how to move the failed emails or something like that. Okay, this is like a real basic configuration, and it's the configuration that the system has by default. But if you want to create an additional email profile, you could click on the creation and on the creation button in this arrow, and it's going to ask you what kind of email profile you want to create. As I mentioned, you could have an Exchange server, probably locally, or you could have a service like Google or something like that that probably is going to have a POP3 or SMTP server. So if you click there, the system is going to request information that probably you need to get from your email provider. And after that, you just need to put the incoming or outgoing URL. And after that, the authentication that you want to apply. Like, for example, Gmail authentication or server side, or I mean credentials, or the specific authentication method that you want to use. Usually when the people I mean, when the people is using CRM Online, they used to have Microsoft Exchange Online. So it's something that probably you need to, I mean, it's not something that probably you're going to be changing. Uh, Additionally, there are some specific things that you need to configure that basically are the kind of synchronization that you want to apply according to the profile. I'm going to be presenting this later when I explain the global configuration, the global settings, but it's something that we need to keep in mind um, when we finalize the profile configuration. Okay, the next thing that you need to do is configure the mailboxes. This is something that is really easy, but sometimes could be like a tricky. Uh, and how to do it? So the first thing that you need to know is that when you have a person, I mean, when you have a user in the system that already have a CRM license, of course, that person probably is going to have an email or an exchange license as well. So it means that the person is going to appear here in security in users, but additionally, that person is going to be created automatically by the system here in email configuration in mailboxes. So if you enter here, you will see, I mean, if you enter here like global administrator, and when I mention global administrator, and that's why I put here, should be an Office 365 admin. I mean, if you are a system administrator in CRM, but you are not a global admin in Office 365, you cannot configure the mailboxes. So should be someone with high level of permissions, usually the global admin in Office 365. The person should, I mean, if I enter with that user, I could come here to mailboxes, to all mailboxes. I could see all my team here. I mean, the people that I mean, all the users. And for example, in my case, as you can see here, the email, the incoming email, the outgoing email, and the appointment as a specific status. So for a moment, I'm failure here, I'm success here, and I'm not running here. So I need to enter here to the mailbox. This is something that you don't need to do it each by one. I mean, you could just select multiple ones and do it massively, but I will be explaining you which one user. So the first thing that you need to do is configure the synchronization method. So by default, you're going to see the server profile here because it's the only one that you have, but if you have multiple ones, you could select which one do you want to use. And after that, you need to define the incoming email or outgoing email that the method that you want to use. Usually, when we have Exchange Online, we used to have the server side synchronization because it's the common one. But you could try to do a different one. What's different? If you want to use Microsoft Dynamics 365 for Outlook, it means that the synchronization is going to happen just if you have the Outlook opened. Okay, so if you don't have the Outlook working, the integration is not going to work because something that depends on Outlook. But if you don't want to create that dependency, you could just put server-side synchronization, that is the recommended one. And after that, the synchronization is going to work even if you don't have the Outlook open. Okay? So with this configuration, the server-side synchronization in incoming and additionally in the outgoing, and the emails are going to be synced directly in the CRM and the Outlook. Additionally, you could configure the appointments. So, and again, probably you could have, for emails, you could have this configuration, but for appointments and contact, you want to have it with Outlook. It's up to you, but my suggestion is try to have it in this way. Try to have everything with server-side synchronization, and that's it. I mean, it's going to be the easiest way to configure, and probably is going to be the best behavior that you could have it. Okay, so after configure this, and probably you are thinking at the moment, okay, I have to configure that in all the users. No, you don't have it. I mean, it depends. If you configure, if for example you enter to admin settings, and if you enter to system settings, you could go to email here and you could define the configuration that is going to apply by default to all the users. But the trick here is that if you already assigned a license and you already assigned, if you already assigned the CRM license and you already assigned the Outlook licenses, the users already exist in the system. So the configuration or the modification that you do here is not going to apply to the users that already exist. It's going to apply to the new users. So my suggestion is as soon as you create your CRM instance, go directly here to system settings, go to emails and configure the profile and the default configuration that you want to apply. If not, you have to do it each point one, or you could just select multiple users, but at the end, you need to configure the mailbox for all the users. Okay, let's continue with Jorge here. So I'm going to enter here to my mailbox. The configuration is going to be or should be like this. And after do this, you need to approve the email. Okay, that's the first thing. You could approve it. Okay, and after approve the email, you should try to. After approve the email, you need to test the email. Okay. But it's something that is not going to work if you are not the global admin. I am the system administrator in this CRM, but I am not a global admin in my tenant, in my Microsoft tenant, so it's not going to allow me to do that. Okay, but the steps are just approve the email, and after that, test the email, and that's it. It's going to work. Something important that you have to keep in mind is that if you have multiple environments, for example, you have a development environment, QA environment, and production environment, one email, you could have that email, that mailbox enabled just in one instance. You cannot configure an email that is going to work in the third instance or something like that. That's not possible. So just define the instance that you want to use with your account, and in that instance configure that usually is the production one, and in that instance configure the users. Okay, if you configure the users in production and after that just for testing or something like that, if you go to QA environment and try to do these steps, the process is going to work. The system is going to activate the account in the QA environment, but it's going to be disabled in the production environment. As soon as you configure in one environment, it's going to disable that in the other environment. So that's something that you need to keep in mind as well. Okay. Okay, this is the mailbox configuration that, as I mentioned, I just need to configure the incoming email, the outgoing email, and after that, approve the email and then test the email. The result is going to be in this window. If you enter to alerts, you could see here if the process works or not. It's going to tell you what is going to happen, and probably actually in this case show me that this email is already configured in some other environment, and I cannot configure in this environment as well. This is something that doesn't work in that way some time ago. Usually the CRM allows you to activate in multiple, but in the environment that you activate the account is the last one that is going to be active and the other ones are going to be disabled. But apparently now they changed this, and just is telling you that you cannot configure in multiple environments, and it's going to be the primary one that you need to that is going to be able. So if you want to move the configuration, if you want to disable in what environment and activate again in another one, probably you need to enter to the environment that is active at the moment, reject the emails, and after that do the same process in the new instance that you want to activate. Okay. Okay, let's see the email global configuration. That basically is this window that I'm presenting you here. Let's see this directly in the CRM because probably it's the easiest way to do it. It's not here, sorry. You need to enter to the administration model and then enter to the system settings. And here there is a tab with the name email. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to see here is the default um, routing that is going to be using, or the default synchronization method that is going to be using. And after that, it's going to ask you to define the default server profile, the incoming email, and all the default configuration. That's something basic. After that, you're going to see the email processing for unapproved users and queues that basically say what's happening that if a user is not approved or if a queue is not approved. So what it means, if for example you try to send an email and on the recipients, or I mean if you want to send that email to a person that doesn't exist in the CRM, it's not a lead, it's not a contact, it's not an account, so you just put an email there. So for the CRM, it's not an approved user, it's not something that is recognized. So you could configure here if you want to allow the CRM send emails to people that he doesn't know, or if you don't want to send that email. So you could define here if the CRM should process that or not. Okay, so you could just check it or uncheck, and that's it. After that, you could configure the folder level tracking and email correlation. That basically uh, allows you to define what's the way that the CRM is going to be tracking the emails. You could use the first one that is going to be the folder level tracking for Exchange. That is a configuration that allows you to define a group of folders directly in the Exchange, and based on that folders, you could define what are the emails that the CRM is going to be that is going to be following or is going to be tracking. So if you create an email like, for example, Microsoft, and after that you define that those emails are going to be tracked, so you could do it. Um, so it's a functionality that sometimes some companies use. I don't use too much, but the traditional one is use correlation to track emails conversation. That basically is a configuration where you include a token at the end of the emails. So when you send an email, the CRM is going to add a token number. Like for example, this one is going to add CRM and a group of numbers. The group of numbers depends on the configuration that you define here, and could be multiple numbers or just one number or whatever, as you need. But basically, it's a number that CRM is going to generate, and that allows you to identify the token. That token is kind of visual, but it doesn't mean that if you disable this, it doesn't mean that the CRM is not going to be enabled or is going to be able to follow up your emails. Of course, that is going to be able. It's going to be able to track the emails, but it's not something that you could see easily because you are not going to see the number at the end of the email. So this suggestion is try to remain in this way. I don't use this functionality at all. So basically, it's for do an additional matching based on some information that probably is going to have in the subject. So you could define a regular expression here to define what's going to be the relation. I think that is too complex, but it's something that you could try to use it if you need. Okay, the next one is going to be the tracking for emails between Microsoft Dynamics 365 users, and it's a functionality that allows you to define how many activities is going to be created. Let's say that I send an email to one of my team members or something like that. So I send an email to, let's say, to Carolina. So for me, it's going to be an activity that is an email that represents an outgoing email. And for her, it's going to be an email, again, an activity that is going to represent an incoming email. So you could define here if you want to allow the CRM create two activities or if you want to create just one in terms of the space, or in terms of the storage. Probably something that you want to think about it, but if not, it's okay, just leave it with two activities. The other ones are some securities functionalities like restrictions in with frames, Allow message with unresolved emails received to be sent. That is similar to that the functionality that we read at the beginning. And multiple unresolved with multiple emails. I mean, it's asking you what he should do when some specific cases happen. Okay, but basically you just could change these two options. After that, you could configure the size of the attachment that you could receive or that you could send. By default, it's going to be in 5 megabytes, but you could increase that according to the Microsoft documentation. You could increase that until 100 of megabytes, but I tried until 25 megabytes. But according to the documentation, you could expand that or increase that until 100. Okay. This is a functionality that is kind of, it's not too old, but it's not too new. I mean, a little bit. I mean, some time ago it's appearing there, but allows you to configure multitask, compose, and save drive of emails. It means that at the moment and by default, when you are, for example, in a contact or in a case, and you click in the timeline and just click on a new email, the new email form is going to appear in like in a full screen mode. But with this functionality, you're going to have a small window that allows you to configure the email there. I think that is not quite practice, but it's something that you could try it as well. Additionally, you could configure the alerts that you want to see according to the mailboxes and some other functionalities regarding the unifying interface. But basically, this is the configuration that you need to know about the emails. It's something general, so it's going to apply to all the users. But it's not. It's kind of simple as well. Okay. The next one is going to be the personal settings. What are the email personal settings? So if you enter here and you click on options, you will see here some specific configurations that are going to apply just for your user. So you need to wait until the screen appears. Let's wait because I don't know why it's taking some time. Okay, let's see what's happening. Let me try to open again this. And let me try to open again this. It's taking much time. Let's try to open here. Okay, you just need to come here to the email as well. And basically there are just 5 things that you could configure here. The first one is going to be a check that allows you to configure if you want to allow other users to send emails on your behalf. So probably you want to configure that someone in your team could send emails in behalf, I mean, on your behalf. So you just need to enable this, and other users are going to be enabled to send emails I mean, instead of you. I mean, on your behalf. So define according to your business rule if it's something that you could use or not. I use it sometimes because when I implement CRM, I try to configure an email, like for example, notifications or system notifications, and send everything through this email. So that email, that user is configured with this check, because if not, other users cannot send emails in his behalf. Okay. The other thing is the track emails that you want to use. By default, is in this option, email messages in response to dynamic emails. Probably you could configure it just to restrict leads, contacts, and accounts emails, or just to restrict emails that are going to be related to the CRM. Or if you don't want to be tracked in the CRM, you could just no email messages. Or if you want to track without any restriction, just configure on all messages. By default is going to be this one. Okay. If you enable the folder tracking rules in the global, you could configure your own rules here. Additionally, it's going to ask you what should what the CRM should do when someone new arrives. Like for example, someone that the system doesn't identify is sending you an email to the support account. So what should the CRM do? So what the CRM do is exactly what you configure here. So you could define, okay, let's create a lead, let's create a contact, but or you could just say, don't create anything, just receive the email and just leave it the email like invalid email. But again, if you want to create a contact or if you want to create a lead and after that update the information, it's a good option as well. And by default, it's active here. So this is something that is important because if not, probably the number of contacts that you are going to see after a while is going to be a number that you don't understand why it's increasing so fast. And probably it's because you are receiving contacts or you are receiving emails from people that you don't know or the system doesn't know. Okay, so let's be careful with this. This one is to present information in a conversation as a conversation in the timeline. So, for example, if you send an email and you receive the answer, and after you send again and you receive answer, so you could configure this as a conversation in the same way that works in Outlook. So just to group the emails in a really easy way. That's something that sometimes works for some people. Uh, and and after that, you could configure what is going to happen with the emails that the CRM is not tracking. So you could configure here, show emails not tracked in Dynamics in the activity list. So you could define it should be appearing there or not. By default, it's going to be in yes, but probably you could configure it with no. It's up to you again. Um, okay, after that, we have the Outlook integration. So what's the Outlook integration and how to activate it? Because it's apparently easy, but it's again kind of tricky. So what's the Outlook integration? Let me show you something here. So for example, if I enter to one of my emails, let's say this one, and as you can see here, there is a Dynamics button here. So if I click there, I could say, okay, this email is something that is related to a specific record in the CRM. Like, for example, it's related to a specific account, or it's related to a case, or it's related to a lead, or it's related to an opportunity. So you could define here what is related to this email directly. This is really useful. So to activate that, there is a couple of things that you need to know. The first thing is that the users that are going to be enabled to do that are the users with a specific role. And let me show you what's the role. For example, you enter here and you enter to manage roles. So the users needs to have this specific role, Dynamics 365 app for Outlook users. If the user doesn't have this, they're not going to be enabled to use that functionality. That's the first thing that you need to keep in mind. After that, you need to enter here to Dynamics 365 apps for Outlook. Okay, and here there are a bunch of things that you could do. The first thing is that you could activate this automatically add Dynamics app for Outlook to all eligible users. So if you activate this and after that just save it, every time that you add the role that I mentioned before, the CRM automatically is going to install that automatically in the Outlooks in their computers. Okay, so I think that's the best way to do it. If you don't want to do it in that way, you could disable this and the CRM is going to show you here the list of people that probably could receive the installation. You could select the users and after that just add the app for the users that you select, but it's something manual. So my suggestion is activate this functionality and every time that you configure that, you are going to receive the add-on automatically in your Outlook. Actually, here, as you can see, there is a small review of how to configure an email for a user. It's going to be set up the server-side synchronization, approve the email, that is something that I already explained, test the email, and after that, add the user this specific role. Okay, so this is something that is going to be useful. And as soon as you do that, you could activate or you could send, you could relay the emails directly in your Outlook. If you enter through the website to your email, you could do it as well. I mean, directly in the email. Uh, Let me see if I can show you that. But it's exactly should be exactly the same. If you enter to Portal Dynamics to Portal Office, let me try to do it here. And if you select this one, for example, you could click here, and you will see here Dynamics 365, and it's going to be exactly the same functionality. I mean, you could relay that, and with that, you will be able to relay the system, relay the records directly to the CRM without enter to the CRM. I mean, you could relay that directly from the Outlook. That is a really good functionality, I guess. Okay. Basically, this is the information that I wanted to share with you today. I know that probably is not it's not quite extensive, but it's the specific information that you are going to need to configure your email in your CRM instance. Something that I will recommend you, and that's why I include this one here. We changed this URL because the previous one I didn't notice really, and the previous one was a trial instance and expired. So I don't want to be created a new instance every time. So I create like a regular instance now that is Optimus external trial. Um, I mean, I could try it, but it's not the trial one. It's a sandbox instance. You could enter there with that user and with that password, and you could try all the things that I mentioned before. Okay, so and you could try the CRM as well. And that's why I wanted to create this instance, because I think that the best way to identify if a system is useful for you or if something that's going to be I mean, yes, useful for your company is try it directly, not just watching videos in YouTube or something like that. So I want to invite you to go there and try by yourself the functionality, try by yourself the instance, and if you have any question or something like that, just let me know. You could send me an email or you could just send me any comment, and I will be answering you as soon as possible. Thanks for your time. I know that it's time that probably I mean, you're working or something like that. So thanks a lot for your time. And I hope you see you in the next webinar. Remember that next week we are going to be doing the same webinar, I mean, the same topic, but it's going to be in Spanish. So we are going to be doing the topic in English one week, and after that, the next one is going to be in Spanish. At least for this year, it's going to be like that. Okay? Thanks a lot again for your time.